Despite a ban, thousands of people gathered in Berlin to protest pandemic restrictions on the weekend. Police arrested several hundred of them.
Police in Berlin on the weekend showed up with a force of over 3,000. Their goal was to prevent people protesting pandemic restrictions. This was after courts refused to allow two demonstrations of over 30,000 to go ahead. They said they feared violations of hygiene measures based on experiences of previous protests. On the same weekend, a protest of several thousand against rent prices went ahead. Despite the ban, several smaller spontaneous gatherings took place throughout the city, especially in central Berlin's Tiergarten Park.
We notice groups here and there throughout the city that want to come together. Even though gatherings have been banned, we address them directly, issue expulsion orders.
Police arrested several hundred people. Several protesters told the media that police used disproportionate force. Protesters were drawn from a wide spectrum of society. They said the lockdown measures go too far, violating liberty and basic rights. Berlin recently saw a lifting of a nightly curfew and restrictions on shopping and outdoor dining.
At least 14 people died and a child was seriously injured in an incident in the Alps on Sunday. A cable car linking Italy's Lake Maggiore with a nearby mountain plunged 20 meters to the ground.
More than a dozen people died and at least 3 were seriously injured in Italy on Sunday when a cable car linking Lake Maggiore with a nearby mountain in the Alps plunged to the ground. The Stresa Matarone cable car carries tourists and local people from the town of Stresa, almost 1,400 meters above sea level, to the top of Matarone mountain. Marcella Severino, Stresa's mayor, told a national broadcaster that the accident happened as the cable car was travelling up the mountain. The cabin dropped some 20 meters and rolled several times down the steep slopes before it was stopped by trees. Coroners had started identifying the victims, who included foreign nationals, she said, without giving further details. A spokesperson for Italy's Alpine Rescue Service told a local broadcaster that 2 children had been transported by helicopter to a pediatric hospital in the nearby northern city of Turin. The Stresa Matarone lift had only recently reopened following the gradual lifting of coronavirus restrictions. Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi voiced his condolences to the families of the victims, with a special thought for the wounded children.
A survey of businesses in the Eurozone suggests they are growing at the fastest pace in 3 years. But this surge in activity means increase in prices. NTD's Patrick Hayden brings us the details.
Eurozone businesses are expanding at the fastest pace in 3 years. French Minister for Economy, Finance and Recovery, Bruno Le Maire, echoed the news as EU members met informally in Portugal.
Everywhere in Europe, growth is back. This is good news for all of us. This is good news for Europe, and this is good news for all European citizens.
President of the Eurogroup, Pascal Donoghue, says things are improving, but he still wants to reach the goal of getting 70% of citizens vaccinated.
The success of our vaccination programme, combined with the right decisions being taken within the euro area to support jobs and to support income, are laying the foundations for a strong performance of Europe in the second half of the year.
Businesses are hiring and orders are piling up. But the surge in business means capacity constraints and supply chains are under pressure. The increase in activity is also pushing up prices. IHS Markit's Eurozone Flash Purchasing Managers Index rose nearly 57 points in May. That's up nearly 3 points from April and beating market expectations. Readings above 50 mean growth. New purchase order growth is the highest since 2006, and backlogs of existing orders rose at the fastest pace since records began in 2002. One economist at Capital Economics says, although price pressures continue to build, there is still little evidence of a more sustained rise in underlying inflation. The flash report is based on 85% of total responses. The full report will be out in the coming days or so. Patrick Hayden, NTD News, London.
Canned wine sales have skyrocketed over the past decade in the US. In France, though, the first cans made it onto the supermarket shelves. But the French have mixed opinions towards the beverage. NTD's France correspondent David Vivez has more from Paris.
Before being a glass bottle beverage, wine was drunk for centuries in amphoras, a two-handled vessel. But the US seems to have set a new standard for wine containers, cans. In less than a decade, the sales of canned wines skyrocketed from $2 million in 2012 to over $183 million in 2020, making it the fastest growing segment of the market. In France, some brands are taking their first step into this untapped market. As in the US, these cans especially target young people. However, it seems these students were not yet ready to enjoy wine in a can.
I don't know. When I look at it, this seems like a poor quality wine to me.
And they did not lack opinions.
Sounds like an abomination. Wine tasting is a part of gastronomy. We have glasses for red wine, white wine, for a bunch of alcohol. So putting it into a can and drinking it as if it was Coca-Cola, this is just atrocious.
It's strange, I think. A bottle of wine, you can share it with people. It's a moment you share with your friends.
According to one brand of canned wine, the wine is less than 2 years old, prepared this way to be drunk without aging. But how would an industry expert react? We went to see Alexandre Jean. He worked as a sommelier for 20 years in the most prestigious restaurants of Paris. He'd never heard of canned wines before we met. We asked him to conduct a taste test.
A fruit-focused expression, cassis, not much alcohol, nicely balanced. First impression is good. I'm a little bit surprised by the quality and wine expression. Pretty nice, in fact.
The test taste continued with the $7 bottle of wine.
The bottle is the same year as the can, 2019. Oh, I would never thought to say that verdict. I like the canned wine better. Damn! The bottled wine carries a tradition of its own for sure. It's another way to taste the wine, but it all depends on the intention behind the work of the wine producer. You might put a good wine in cans.
But whatever the container, the best way to drink wine is to do it with moderation. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
That's the news for today, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Stuart Lees.